Hello there and welcome to UK Diesel and Electric Railway Modelling. I just need to check the sound on my live feed because annoyingly it doesn't let me turn off the sound, so it's going to echo back at me. Designed for people with headphones. I don't use them. Electric Railway Modelling. There we go. Okay. So, hope everybody's having a good day. So in this video I'm going to be talking about the Hornby 2020 range. I think there's some good stuff in here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with. So let's get on with it. So what I've done. Hi there. So I thought the best way to do it is I find that RMWeb that they do set it up very nicely and they arrange it perfectly, so you know, everything's arranged in like the new stuff and the steam stuff, diesel, electric, you know, coaches, wagons, things like that. So let's get on with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this, I'm going to give my opinion of what I think they're doing, and you know, see if you agree. So the first thing first is the new tooling. Now this is a diesel electric channel, and I'm sure this stuff is very interesting for people that like steam trains. I have no interest in steam trains, so I'm just going to gloss straight past this. Do find it interesting, steam engine under electric wires, but anyway. So the first one we've got is the Class 91. Hornby are going to do a Class 91, which is kind of weird considering the Cavalex one that's going, and they're not including coaches in it, or including coaches in the range for this year. So it's a little bit confusing to me. It makes me wonder, what is it Hornby are trying to do here? Are they just trying to screw over Cavalex or something? It just seems a little bit odd, you know, for them to do this. Is this something they had in mind, but they didn't have anything in mind for the coaches, and they didn't want to waste the time and work that they've already got? Well, if we look at the dates on it, it's December 2020, so I don't know. It would appear that that Cavalex had better get a move on if they want to have this out. And they seem to be going for a reasonable range, you know, an O and 3 1s. You know, so it's like, are they going for 2 different body shells? Because they would have to go for 2 body shells if they're going to do this one. If they're going to do 91002 Durham Cathedral in Intercity, I'm guessing it's in Intercity livery, but it's not that one because I don't know. It doesn't actually say what livery it's in. It says Era 8, which says that it's Intercity. Now, for those who don't already realise this, there is a difference in the Class 91s. When my computer wakes up, there we go. So if we look at the standard Class 91 as they were built, what they have, they've got 3 big radiators on the side plus 1 on the top. Largely they didn't change very much throughout their lives, and they're coming to an end now. But so you've got 2 tall rectangular ones and a square one, and then when they refurbished them, this was done under GNER because they had a bit of an overheating problem at times, but you know, you can't really see it very well on this one. We find a better one. I've got some good ones down here somewhere. Well, okay, so on this side we have the original 1, 2 and 3, but there's now a new little one, even smaller one there. There's a little letterbox one there. And then on the opposite side, these are some measurements I took. I wonder if I've got a picture from the other side of a 1. Let's try this. So it's the same pattern again. A small letterbox one and 3 normal ones, but on one side it's got 2. Am I missing something? And that's a DVT. No, there we go. So on the other side we've got 1, 2, then 2 square ones, and then the small letterbox. So, in order for them to do the O, they're going to have to produce 2 bodies. It'd be interesting to see what they do there. So, yeah, I think it's good. I wonder, I think time will tell, because it's £170 for a locomotive. Call it 150 quid, probably by the time the likes of Rails of Sheffield or Hattons have got hold of it. But, so it's 170 quid for a loco. I wonder whether they're going to go, whether this is going to work as much as, I don't know. Are they just trying to push it out early? So it's like, are you going to go for the Cavalax one, which from all accounts has a lot of detail in? We don't know what this one's going to be like yet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Anyway, so then we've got the APT. Now, people have been crying for this for years. Sadly, the Dave Jones models kind of folded, and I think it was Durham Model Railway Shop or something like that. I think it was a company in Durham. They were basically sponsoring it, this model, and sadly Dave Jones folded. So people, have lost out. Some have lost out monetarily. Others have just lost out. Others lost out just like in disappointment. So the APT. Now this is going to be an interesting one. So the old Hornby Intercity APT that came out in, I think it was like 1979 or early 80s, something like that. And it was a 5-car set with a power car, what you could call a brake coach, and a driving vehicle. I used to have 2 of them, and I chopped a couple of vehicles in half. So I chopped the brake in half, and I chopped a driving vehicle in half, and made a trailer out of it. So I had an 8 coach set. Unfortunately, even with 2 power cars, it didn't have enough grunt to get over an incline that I had, and so I ended up selling it and swapping it. I can't believe it now, but I swapped it for £50. I only bought it for about 25, both of them. One was broken, the other one was okay. Neither had a pantograph, or did it? I can't remember now. No matter. So let's have a little look at the details. So we've got a 5-car set and a 7-car set. And we got running numbers of 370001 and 2, because they were split into 2 halves. And then we've got a range of coaches. Now, although I'm really knowledgeable about most diesel electric stuff, I'm not terribly knowledgeable about the APT. So let's have a look at the photos that I've acquired over the years. So trains, units, I've still got lots of sorting out. I mean, look at all this, I've got just loads. EMU, overhead, 2nd generation, APT. So on the detail stuff, I've got individual vehicles here. So we can see, just wait for it to open. So we got the power car. So that's going to be expected. So let's have a look what we got here. So okay, so this is the XTS trailer standard. So I'm guessing that these are going to have 1 or 2 power cars. It doesn't really tell you what we've got in terms of power cars. We only know 5-car set is probably going to be the same as the old Hornby model from years ago. And one of the rumours is, and I don't know whether this is true, that when when Hornby, the executive managers, they decided to move, and they decided to just scrap some of the moulding. I don't know what was in, which moulding was lost. It could have been the APT moulding. People have been crying out for them for years. It's a great move for them to go for this. So, so the good thing is we've got numbers, so we can figure out what the vehicles are going to be like. So this is 48601. So that's going to be one of the ones in here, I would expect. Yeah, that's that one. So 48204. So this is one that's got two separate bogies. So 48204. Ah. So there's a fair chance that it's one of those vehicles. So that fits that profile. Power car. So this is 404. Now this one's a trailer. Okay, so that's 404 there. Let's see if, there you go, that's it there. So that's your buffet car. Yep. Trailer, restaurant, buffet, standard. So there's a couple of different ones here. I mean, obviously the idea is you can take your 7-car set and turn it into a much longer one. Now, I still don't know what a 7-car set looks like here. You know, is it going to have 2 power cars in it? And is it going to have, you know, a buffet? Well, this one's going to be 2 buffets. Because, as I said, the trains were split in half. So the idea is that that would be your centre part. And then this is one half of the train, and then there would be another half of the train. And then we've got another driving vehicle. So let's see what else we've got in terms of... Okay, so we've got a trailer here. I think... Oh, that's a trailer brake. So that's 48603. Aha. Okay, so now we've got 48303. Notice the SC prefix. That means that's because it was based at Glasgow. So 303. Okay, so that's these two. So the way it would appear, because the chances are that that vehicle will be mirrored on further on the back of the train. I may be wrong about this. So it may be that you work either side with each vehicle. So this is 303. So this is a trailer unclassified. So it's just a standard class buffet, standard class coach. So what have we got in these ones? Can't really read the numbers. Power cars. See, that could be the development vehicle. I might be wrong. Oh yeah, and knowing Hornby, I think they will do an interesting interior. I always did like the sort of, you know, this enclosed luggage area. That does look quite smart. So let's see, are there any other? Okay, so this is 48204. Excuse me a moment, I'm just going to turn the heating off. Got quite warm. Okay, so 48204. Okay, so that's a trailer standard. So it's a standard class coach. These are temporary bogies. You know, so this would have the articulated bogie between the two. 48102 doesn't really tell me anything about it though. There you go, it's an articulated bogie for you. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Maybe this is your 7-coach set. Your 7-car unit. So it's basically 2 driving vehicles, 2 brake auxiliary power. I think it was an auxiliary generator vehicle, and then 2 power cars. So that could be your 7-coach train, and then a trailer in the middle. So I think these are the ones I already showed. I think I got 2 copies of. Yeah, probably. Actually, something just popped into my head. Let me, this should be on my taskbar. Oh. It was working a bit ago. Damn it. Okay, well let's do it the old-fashioned way then. What's the one at Crewe like? How long's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Okay. 7. I just wondered if it was that. Maybe that's your 7-car train. I'm not entirely sure, but it'd be interesting to find out. So I think that's going to be interesting. It's not going to be a cheap train. I mean, £550. That's pricey, but you know, I mean, let's have a look at the 550, let's say, divide by 7, so that's 78 quid. You know, so that's going to be your empty coach, stick a motor in a couple of vehicles. There's your power vehicles. So yeah, that's interesting. I think it's really great that they're doing it. You know, so there you go. That's our next one. So more steam trains, not really much use. Yeah, see, some of the coaches you can find, they have, you know, they ended up being used as departmental vehicles and things like that. Now, here's an interesting one. So this is new stuff, and some of the things that are on this list are some different numbered coaches. Now, Hornby's buffet cars have been the, I think they're the 1/8 series numbers, which are the RMB, and they're you know, they're branching out their range. So they're doing the 1/7s and the 1/6s and the 1/9s. Well, the 1/9s, that's already been done by Bachmann, so I find it a little bit weird that they're doing that, but maybe they're just making the most out of a tooling. The ones that I find most useful for me are the 1/6 ones, and the 1/6 coaches. So let me go out, trains, coaches, Mark 1, buffet, and so for me, the primary use for those are the white roofed Raspberry Ripple Intercity Charter stock. I've been wanting to do one of these for ages. Hornby have got the FO. The Bachmann one wasn't a wasn't the correct first for the job, because those were FKs. But differences you get. In fact, let's do the old double picture spread. Takes a moment to find things. Come on. Okay, coaches. Part 1, buffet. Oh, yeah. So the 19s are the ones that Bachmann do already. And actually 1973 is probably the best one to use there. So when we didn't mean to do that. Let's take this one and make it smaller. Okay, and then take this one. There we go. Okay, so we can get a better idea now. So this part is the same, this part is the same, but it's got a door in between, and then we've got a small window, no window door, 1, 2, 3 compartments, and then a door, but this one doesn't have a door. So this is a refurbished RBR, this one at the bottom, and on the opposite side, let's use this, and oh, there we go. Okay, it's got no well, oh yes, it has got bogies. But if we look here, this one's a lot different. So we've got, let's zoom in a little bit more so it's kind of in the same kind of place. Okay, so we've got toilet type window, we've got window there, that bit's the same, that bit's the same, that bit's the same, that bit's the same. So you've now got a window, a large space which is probably about the size of a window there, with a door in it, so that part's different, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, and then that there. Now, I've half converted one of these, which is kind of funny. So yeah, that's kind of comical. I've taken a Bachmann model and I've kind of carved it up a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. It's in models, my models, coaches, and there you go. So this is one that I've converted. The top one there, this is a BSO. The bottom, Hornby now do a BSO, and then this top one here, this was to be an RBR. Oh, come on, it's stuck. Come on. Oh God. I think it's crashed on me. Yeah. Okay, well, for now, just gonna have to wait until it figures itself out. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. Oh, I seem to have lost a chunk of time. Oh, it would appear the live stream is also paused. Ah, okay, it's back now. Right. Just give me a time frame. Okay. So there's also the 1.7 series. Ah, it's back. There you go. It's working again now. Okay, so then there's also other types, and I don't really have these organised as much because I'm not doing any of the 17s and so on. So there's a whole bunch of different ones that are about. Is this going to hang up again on me? I think it is. I think I'm going to have to restart to use that program. Yeah. Oh, my live streams, he's also jammed. I don't even know if I'm broadcasting. Okay, I'm not going to use it until then. Okay, so Stevenson's rocket. Again, it's one of those nice things. I suppose you can have on a shelf if you like steam trains or whatever, or you like heritage. Not the kind of thing I would be interested in. Apparently, it's no tooling. You know. I must admit though, many years ago, I'm probably talking about 15 years ago, I saw a really nice layout, and it was just a viaduct, and it was supposed to be the Liverpool and Manchester Railway, which is just down the corner, down the road from me, and excuse me, and it was basically the Rainhill trials, where they were trialing out different locomotives and things like that. And it was just a cute little thing. I'd never seen anything like that. This is at a time when everything was, LMS, LNER, that kind of stuff. To see something a bit different, that was interesting. This, obviously it's their centenary. I don't really see a point in this. It's some, wow, £524. You better get all of them in a pack for that. Yeah, that's really pricey. I mean, that's a collector's item, isn't it? I mean, the only thing you need if you buy one of those is the wrong pair of trousers, a green vest, woolly vest, and an intelligent dog. Again, this stuff here would is basically harping back to the old days, probably old toolings, so basically old models in a so yeah, it's cute, but it's more toy train stuff, really. Will it be available cheap and be able to strip it down and repaint it? Who knows. I've wanted one of these for a while, but I'm not paying these kind of prices for one. More train sets. Okay, so now we're on to some diesel electric stuff. So, Railroad Plus, new enhanced livery for 2020. Not sure exactly what this means, but so it's got etched nameplates, and these are the Lima models. You can tell they're the Lima models because of the shape of the bogies here, and also you can see this is a single tank loco with it's the one where they had a big weight in it. I know I had a number of them, and of course the Lima model never had any underframe differences. They were all exactly the same one. So 47727 would have had an auxiliary fuel tank, a large fuel tank wrapped around the battery box there. Likewise here, GBRF one. I don't even recognise that livery. Another GB. Wait a minute, was that the same? No, for a second I thought it was the same loco as the first. Again, another Lima model. Funnily enough, I'm just finishing off one at the moment for my giveaway, which will be happening on Wednesday. So don't forget, if you haven't watched that video, there's prizes available. Again, this is the Lima model. Believe it or not, the Lima 20 was the best Lima model that they did, with maybe the 67, but I never had one of those, so I can't really comment. But this was one of the best models because it had a central motor and it had a drive shaft and a a gear tower, and so both axles ran. I mean, it didn't have it on both, but it was the strongest loco you could get. The only problem with the Lima ones was that you either had to have one as a dummy vehicle, one as a power, one as a dummy, to have a pair of them, or you would have to check them out on the old DC system. You would have to basically put them on the same loop of track and see if one caught up, and if they did, you'd find another pair, because the gearbox ratio was slightly different depending on the gears. I don't know why, but I had 6 of them, and I shredded a couple of gears because one was dragging or pulling stronger than the other. So here's another Lima model, and £75 for an old Lima model with a new motor in it. I just think that's a bit pricey myself. I don't know though, looking at the curve there, that looks like it might be the old Lima motor as well. I don't know, I might be wrong. At least this one should be better than the first Network Rail one they did, because they did it as 301, 97301, which had flush ends. And for me it was a comedy loco, because it used to be 37100, and 37100 had a collision sometime in the early 80s, and so it ended up with box head code, split head code at one end, and then like split head code but with the boxes removed and plated up, so like the 375s, the early 375s were like. But another point here is that this model is wrong as well, because it's got refurbished nose grills. Those should be 2 long ones and 2 half ones, so that's not quite right. It makes you wonder whether they got an unrefurbished body shell. More steam train stuff, not much relevance. Okay, so the Class 800 Azuma. This is nice to see. I don't do this period, but it's nice to see some little branding there. I don't know what that's about. I don't really know the Azumas that well. Had to go on one from Doncaster to Leeds the end of last summer. A friend of mine came to visit, and we went over to Doncaster to have a look at the HSTs that were going, and the 91s and Mark 4s, and see a few of these new trains as well. And I had to go on one, an 802, out between Exeter and Plymouth a couple of weeks ago, when I went down to visit my friend in Plymouth for Christmas. So this is the new Azuma livery, for LNER livery rather. So it's got this kind of stripes and the sort of sweep over the end. So yeah, that's nice to see for people who are doing the current era. And then, nice that it doesn't seem to give a date yet. Oh, sorry, it does, December 2020. So something for Christmas. Now I do like the Class 390 model. It really is a nice tooling. And it's very fast as well. I was amazed how quickly they go. Part of me would like to buy one. Have a 9 or maybe 11 coach train in Virgin colours. Maybe with with the new colour scheme and people want to do today's trains, maybe they'll pass them on and be able to get them cheaper on the second-hand market. I kind of have the temptation to buy one and repaint it into Intercity Swallow livery. That'd be kind of fun. I thought these had been released last year. Maybe they got another set. I don't know. But we got the Seven Cities ScotRail livery. By all accounts, I've heard this livery is very good, a very accurate one. This is the new model. So it's not the railroad version, which is either the old ancient Hornby or the Lima version. And out of the two, the Lima one was very, very good. I had a couple of them. But so then moving on to the Great Western. So this is an interesting pair, actually, because we've got 002, which was the first production one, and it was painted, in the original livery it carried a couple of years back, which was nice, named Sir Kenneth Grange, who was the designer of the Intercity 125. And then, of course, they've chosen the last production one as well, 198, which is driver Brian Cooper. So, nice to see. And it's an unadorned one. It's nothing special as such, other than being the last production one. It's not the Harry Patch or, There's something to be said about having normal-looking locos. Normal-looking stuff, rather than everything's got to have names, everything's got to be a special livery. If everything's special all the time, it becomes not so special anymore. Now this one I'm pleased to see. I shall be getting a pair of these. Now, for those who don't already know this, I think it was 8 power cars were fitted with buffers in the late 80s. And what happened was that the Class 91s were produced before the Mark IV coaches. And in order to test them in traffic, they needed to, be able to put them, have a train with them. So what they did was they altered some Mark III coaches with the TGS, and they put some buffers on them. At one end only, the TGS end, the guards compartment end. And then at the other end, they had an Intercity 125, which, because the Class 91 doesn't have the same kind of electric train heating equipment. It's a different, I think it's a 3-phase or something. So it's a different type of electrical system, which the Class 91s don't do. So, and the Intercity 125s were designed purely for that. So what they did was they, because the 91s had buffers and they might need to drag it away or something, they put some buffers on some Class 43 HST power cars, and they had some extra equipment in the back, and a little extra little box on top of. In fact, let me just find a book I have. I've been moving things around, so is that it? No, not that one, that one. So let me just. This is a HST Silver Jubilee. I don't know if this is backwards for you. Let me have a look. Wait until it appears there. It's probably backwards because I like to be able to raise my hand here and be able to see on my screen, so I can always flip it around. How do I do that? Is it this one? Yeah. Oh. Okay, yeah, so it's back to front. Okay, let me flip that around for you. There we go. So, HST book by Colin J. Marsden. Pretty good book. Unfortunately, I got the cover a little bit crumpled. 91. Turn my lamp on. Need a little bit more light. So, following authorisation of the electrification of the East Coast Main Line from King's Cross to Edinburgh, as well as the branch to Leeds, Bradford, a new fleet of Intercity 225 electric train sets were ordered, formed of high-powered electric locos, Class 91, coupled at one end with a rake of Mark IV coaches, Mark IV passenger vehicles. Driving facilities and the non-powered end were provided by a fleet of driving van trailers, DVTs. The government orders for this stock became very staggered for various reasons, with the locomotives being ordered prior to the passenger stock, and the DVTs mainly due to major modifications required in passengers' vehicle bogie design. Yeah, because they put SIG bogies on, and they were different ones to anyone else. So, to enable the Class 91s to be introduced prior to the delivery of either Mark IV passenger rakes or the DVTs, a decision was made to adapt a small number of Intercity 125 power cars to act as temporary DVTs. The project was masterminded through the Engineering Development Unit at the Railway Technical Centre, Derby, and coincided with major research and development into time division multiplex, TDM. Control systems using coded messages transmitted in time slots over the train lighting cables and decoded in remote vehicles with up to 64 channels of data available to be passed over a single pair of cables. The TDM system was supplied by Brush. Now, in case you don't realise what that sounds like, that's DCC. Believe it or not, it's DCC. It's packet switching. It's sending coded data across two lines, and the vehicles ends up decoded, and that's DCC for you. So effectively, the Class 91s and the DVTs operate on DCC, like closed circuit DCC. To enable power cars to be operated within non-Intercity 125 consists, some major modification was required. First, the streamlined front end had to be modified to house conventional buffing equipment. The emergency eye coupling was removed and a conventional draw hook installed. No coupling was attached, but an emergency screw link coupling was carried in the engine bay. A standard air brake pipe and two main reservoir pipes were fitted, plus a standard electric train heating jumper socket and a UIC jumper. That's the way that they code the data through on the Mark IVs. As the work was very much experimental, the EDU oversaw a project of rebuilding two trial vehicles, 43014 and 43123. And these are 65 and 123. In the autumn of 1987, to maintain as much as possible of the streamlined appearance, the original vehicles, only the lower section of the front skirting was removed. Conventional oval buffers were installed on extended headstocks fitted to the main drag boxes of the vehicle underframe. To enable this equipment to operate, TDM control cubicle was fitted in the original HST luggage compartment, and a small additional desk panel was mounted slightly above the original driving desk in the cab. There's a lot more detail into it, but numbers that were converted was 43013, 65, 67, 68, 80 and 84, and 123 and 14. It's not giving a full list there, but let's have a look. Yeah, but if I sort of show you this, there's the little panel. That's the additional panel. So, and it was tested on the in 1987 on the West Coast Main Line here, down the way my finger's wobbling. Now, one of the things I'll finish with that part now. So, so one of the amusing parts was that when they tried operating them in traffic, they didn't. They only had the HST power cars idling. Because all they needed to do was provide power for the electric train heating system, which the Class 91 couldn't provide. Just taking a drink. So, in order to, that was the point of it. It wouldn't provide power. It would only provide the electric train heating power supply. However, they discovered there was a bit of a problem, and that let me just do some mathematics for a second. So yeah, they discovered a little bit of a problem. Sorry, give me a second, I'm just slightly distracted. Okay. No, I've done it wrong. Okay. 2250 plus 630. Okay. So, sorry about that. So, what happened was that because the electric motors on the axles, it turned them into a dynamo. So what happened was they were having power surges that was in danger, which flashed over the traction, the engine effectively. I think might have been the alternator. I'm not very good on the technical stuff. All I remember about it is that there was too much power. The dynamo effect of the motors, because they were being pushed and they weren't providing power, it meant that they were causing electrical problems within the power cars. So what they ended up doing was using them for traction as well. So you got a Class 91 which has 6,300 horsepower added to the 2,250. So you got 8,550 horsepower. The acceleration on this train was crazy. So, and actually, thinking here, so you've got one of these, and there's a Class 91 coming as well, so you can do this train. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so let's plug back on. So we've got another version of 13 and 14. I'm actually modelling 13 in that colour scheme with a red buffer beam, and the other one I'm doing is 84, and that's got a yellow front end section there. So yeah. So we got another network rail set, and I don't know whether this is any different than the other ones. These appear to have so these look like the more modern cooler group, so the probably latest one. So more steam trains. I'm sorry if you like steam trains, it's not my thing. This is a diesel electric modelling channel, so I'm sure this is all interesting stuff for somebody, but it's not really my thing. So we've got the old Hornby 90. This I remember this model coming out when I was at school, so this would have been about 1989, I think it was. This came out. Yeah, it was 89. So yeah, and the 91 came out pretty much around about the same time. And this was when they had the switch on the roof, where you could actually have it through the pantograph. So they were selling overhead wires, and it was almost like you could have two trains operating on the same track in the pre-DCC days, by having the switch on and using the, one of the rails for the pickup and the overhead wire for the other pickup, and routing it through the train. So that was interesting. Never did it myself, but yeah, and a complicated livery. This engine has now been superseded by the very, very good Bachmann model, but it's nice to see. It's more the budget one. It's was that £91. So yeah, but these are another version of the one that was announced last year. Maybe it's carried over. I'm not entirely sure. And I don't even know if this is a real thing. I mean, that looks... I think Grant Rail's a very modern company, and I don't think there are many of these around still. I might be wrong. I don't think this was ever a thing either, so it looks a bit... I think this is a bit of a gimmick. So this one's a nice one to see. A Civil Engineers Dutch liveried 31. This is the premium model, not the Hornby. Not the Ex Lima model. You can tell by the shape of this and the bogies and everything as well. And also, you can see how it's got the revised body side grille and the cowled roof grille. So that will fit a number of things. I could probably do with a few of these myself. And another green one, a box head code one again, unrefurbished. The only thing that's wrong with the Hornby model in this form is that what is under the white stripe is actually just extra paint, because on the mould there's let's go to trains. Let's go to Flickr. So let's go 31123. That was a unrefurbished machine. Let's have a look at. See if there's any more. That's a bit better. That's not so bad actually. Yeah. So if you look, you can see that originally they had a piece of strip across here, and it would go down the length of the train. That was the stripe. That was what was painted white, and then there was a white band at the bottom as well. It didn't go down below that. And it was actually it started at the bottom of the door part there, so it was just above that, going down the length. So it's got a glass headcode box. So it used to be the letters and numbers, and they just got rid of that part and just stuck a couple of dots and painted the rest black to use as marker lights. Fairly unusual to have an unrefurbished 31 with snowplows, but also it's got the skirting there. And when they were refurbished, they removed the strip here, they removed the and removed the skirting here, and then put plated over and put a couple of holes with rubber grommet around it for your headlights. So that's your difference between one of those. Now let's 31147. I think it was 147. Yeah, 147. So let's see if we can find a picture of it on the front end. So yeah, so you can see how this is a refurbished one. You can see how we've got the square, the modified, and the cowled roof part. So, like I say, there were so many of these around, so it's really nice to see. This may be a new tooling, because the only version that they had with this kind of one was the skinhead version, which formerly would have had the it was the 31110. So yeah, that's nice to see. And you know, this was a Skegness train. Oh, maybe not actually, charter train then. So okay, so that's one of the later ones with 5627. There is an interesting thing on Class 31s on some of the Great Eastern allocated ones out of Fenchurch Street. They had to operate on the Widen lines, which was in fact, let's 31 King's Cross. Let's see what we can find. Okay, there's a good chance there. So in the old days at King's Cross, they used to have go down an embankment into a tunnel section, and then it would pop out and end up going to Moorgate. And I'm trying to see if I've got a good side shot. That is a reasonable shot, but it's not the right piece. Maybe that's good enough. But just here, it's got a little notch with a handle. There you go, you can just see there's a little tiny notch with a handle there. I believe it was an isolating cock because it went down onto the London Underground section and shared the lines there. It had to have a London Underground tripcock or something. I'm a bit fuzzy on exactly how it worked. I just know it was a thing. Oh, there you go. You can let's. Oh no, that's not what I want. Can I get? No, can't. I would like to find a good close-up shot. Ah, maybe that'll be a good one. There you go. Look, there you go. There's your little notch with the handle. So, like I say, that's a little, you know, if you do the Eastern region, 5587, yeah. I wonder if there's a photo of this one. Let's have a look. 5627. D5627. Oh, it's a preserved one. So, trying to find an old picture of it is probably going to be quite difficult. What we'll find is, you know, 1,500, 2,000 photos of it at preserved railways. Bit of a frustration sometimes when you got a, you know, and not only that, there was also a bit of a problem for a few years, especially when it was PhotoPix and something like that, where you could upload pictures for free. That people would take a dozen photos of a loco and then just upload the whole lot. So that was a bit of a nuisance. And of course, you'd also get like 25 people who be there on the same day and would take the same shot from the same angle or maybe slightly different. And so you know, with loads of photos of the same thing, no matter. Anyway, so let's continue on. So GBRF Class 50007 Hercules. It was the original name. You know, so it's nice to see one of those. Not something I model, although I've already got a model of that one in its GWR colours from its post 93 overhaul. I think it was about April. And Defiance in the same colour. These have worked together a number of times, so having them together makes sense here. We've got a Floyd 56. This is the good model. You can tell because the sandboxes here are separate. So this isn't, basically it's not the railroad model. Just getting a drink. So this one isn't going to be particularly useful because they didn't have yellow ends. This is I think it's Poland or Bavaria or Latvia, somewhere like that. I can't remember now. So we've got a DB Cargo 60, the last one built, 6100. This one is eventually going to be preserved by the National Railway Museum because this was the last British-built locomotive, mainline locomotive built. And then we've got 62 Stennis Pioneer as well. And then we've got another 60 in Colas, a very bright colour scheme if you like that. It serves them quite well. Ever so slightly surprised that they haven't gone for the DC rail or whatever it's called. I can't find the name of it. So 08645, that's the Lera allocated 08 shunter that was given a special repaint in Cornish colours. So this one is allocated down in Penzance, Long Rock Depot. And we've got an early pre-tops but post, without the D number because it's post 1968, and it's pre 1973 when they started putting tops on. So this is the and it's TTS sound as well. Now the Hornby 08 is a very, very good loco. I've only got one sadly at the moment. I've got a bunch of Bachmann ones. I think about 6 of them. And I got mine for £35. It was a bargain. It's like, how much is this? And I'm expecting to pay 70, say £70, and he said it was 35, and I said, yeah, I think I'll have it. And in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to get it now before he realises he's making a mistake. So now we've got this is the Limby, the X Lima Class 66. It's an okay model, but it's not, it's not the Bachmann one, and it's not the Hattons one. It's the newest colour scheme on them. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe 623 is one of the let's have a look. Was it 623? Yeah. I think that's one of the low emission ones, which is different. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it's one of the low emission ones. You see how it's got a door here? Excuse the moving around. It's got a door there. So, and the roof grills are a bit different as well. So number of little differences. So yeah, that's not going to be as accurate as because if I remember correctly, Lima folded before the modified low emission version came out. And we've got the Ocean one. So it's 587. Interesting colour scheme. 66587. I don't think this one was a low emission one. No, it is a low emission one. You can see there's the door. So if you buy one of these, you're not going to get the it's not going to be the premium product, but you get what you pay for, of course. So most of the 7s, those were also low emission ones. So yeah, new NWT and Scotsman one and some X ones. It's like, is there any colours they haven't done yet? Oh, this is one of the Aquafresh ones with London Underground. We're going to be, we're getting some modifications being done, and I believe it was London Overground rather. And as a part of that, they sort of modify the livery a bit. Okay, so a brightly named Sunderland one. Might be okay with this one because I think below that line there may not have been low emission. Let's have a look. What was it again? 725. 725. Also a low emission one, but you know, I must admit I do quite like the way the stripes wrap around. It's got pink on it. I'm a girl. Oh, sorry, 725 in the modern colours. Is there a picture of it with Sunderland written on it? I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. So there's the real one. So nice bright colour scheme for you. And a Malcolm one, DRS one. Malcolm had been doing stuff with them for a long time. And the Maritime Intermodal 2. There were 2 locos painted at the same time, if I remember correctly. So good news for this one is that it's this isn't one of the low emission ones, so this is perfectly fine. And standard GBRF one. And I think that one was done with that one. I can't remember now. I don't pay quite as much attention. A Malcolm Rail one, that'll go with your 90. A standard Freightliner one, that's not a low emission one, so that's good. So let's go on to the coaches. So we've got 2-car set, 2 vehicles to fill up. If you've got a Javelin and you need the coaches in the middle to make it a full 6-car set, these are what you buy. And these haven't actually gone up too much in price. I think they're about £35 first time around, so they've only gone up by about £10 over the last, about 8 years since they came out? I think it was 6 years, something like that. These are actually very good. I have a full 6 coach set, but I'm modifying it with interior lighting and the little white yellow light that will be on there. I'm also having to modify the Javelin power car, because if you imagine it like this and then having the pointy end, the bogey, the motor bogey is there, which means that some of the windows are filled in. So what I'm doing is I'm removing it and sticking it on the other end, so it'll have the power bogey with the power, with the pointy power car end there. So it'll make less of a difference. So anyway, so that's nice to see. Strangely, it's a bit surprising that further up, maybe the train set one or something like that, a train pack, doesn't have the normal Javelin with it. So you'd have be able to make your 6-car set this year. So some Great Western coaches. So we've got the Mark IIF in Virgin colours. That'll go well with the Virgin 47 that came out from Bachmann this year, and also it'll go with the 87, the Hornby's 87 that came out a few months back, and it'll also go with if Bachmann bring out a Virgin 90, it'll go with that as well. The only thing that's missing really is the 86, which is very common with these. But one thing that's missing so we got a couple of brakes, a couple of firsts and standards. They don't do some of the other coaches, such as the buffet. What was it called? It's not RFB. Was it RFB? No. I can't remember what it's called now. It's the 12XX series coaches. That's just RFB. Yeah. So a one of the trains that you can make, if you've got a Virgin, if there's a Virgin DVT, you can have one of the Mark III, Mark II mix sets. So what you would have is 2 or 3 or even 4 first class coaches, a Mark III buffet car, and 5 or 6 standard class coaches. No brake, because that's the DVT, and then you would have a class 90 or an 87 pushing and pulling it. So we've also got the DRS coaches. That'll go well if you've got one of the DRS 37s to operate over the Cumbrian coast, and some. They've done some charter trains as well, I seem to remember. A ScotRail a ScotRail brake, and then a couple of TSOs. So, what's this? Is this sold separately? I'm not entirely sure. It looks like they're 2 separate ones. I don't know whether this is a pack or whether they're separate. Okay, so we've got the Intercity 125 coaches, and I had a look at these earlier, and the coaches listed are one of the HST sets, so in 1991, and let's just have a quick another check. So this one, if we look for the TGS 44055, and that's BN15, and if we look, it's 44055, 42103, 42167, 42168, 42169, 40703, 41086, and 41085. So those will go just nicely between your buffeted or if last year's sound coaches, buffet power cars. So that's nice to see. I do wish, and these look quite a good colour. So I would like to see them use the correct colour on the bottom, which is Pantone 354, if I remember correctly. Excuse me a second, I just need a drink. By the way, while I think about it, I did have a bit of comedy earlier today when I watched Jenny Kirk, because several times during her live stream she sucked all the air out of the room in excitement, and I thought that was really cool. That was fun to see. So one thing of note is that you can see the orange squares there. Those are post 93 coaches, because those have got the central locking system, which they didn't have until before then. So it's like right at the end of Intercity days. So we've also got LNER Mark III coaches. Those will go with the power cars that I seem to remember they brought last year. So that's nice. And we've got the GWR Mark IIIs as well. These, looking at them, it's a bit hard to tell, but these look like the slam door version, not the power door version that we have today. So hi Anita. So then we've got some green coaches. They'll go with your those go with steam train coaches, or they did have them in the sort of early green diesel era as well, before they started painting them all maroon or in blue grey. Something that does look a bit weird, and it's not wrong. It's not wrong. I've seen the model up close. So the Mark 1 coaches are 64-foot long vehicles. The BG is a 57-foot long vehicle, but they've gone and put them on the same sort of line, and if you look, you can see that the wheels here are lower than this one, and this is ever so slightly higher. So they've just made the picture, they've zoomed it in slightly to make it fit nice and neatly, but actually it's a shorter coach and it's just a bit more magnified. This was something that Lima got completely wrong way back, where they had a 64-foot long BG. So we've also got some Network Rail Mark 3s. Now I'm very dubious with these. Although it looks nice and everything, these sort of painted bits of window and painted vents, this is not accurate. This is a small window. This is a big blank space, so it's not just painted over like this, But the problem is, if Hornby was to make a coach that was accurate, and you have to remember that all the departmental stuff, so many are different. The cost of tooling that would be crazy, so I can understand why they haven't. And 975984, that used to be Argus, test car Argus. So we've got a DVT in Network Rail colours. Again, the big vent there is just a painted thing. It's not actually a vent. So that's a little bit disappointing. But again, you get what you pay for. It would shove the cost. But look at the £75. 70, that's pricey. Now, I'm fortunate because back when these first came out, they were hideously. They weren't terribly. They were a bit pricey compared to normal coaches because they were in the £40 mark. I bought 3 at about 35 to 38, and I bought 1 for 20. So I was really fortunate there. So I've got 4 in total. A Mark II FTSO. Now, this one's dubious again. 72616. That's one of the Gatwick Express ones. It is a Mark IIF, but the underframe boxes are different on them. Same again. The underframe boxes are different. They've also got extra bits and things like that. A Mark IID in Network Rail. Again, window would have been singular, plated up, but they've just painted over it. Similar story here. Like I say, it's okay, but now this one's a weird one. I'm very surprised at them doing this one, because this is the structure gauging train driver and instrumental vehicle. Well, the driving one would have had a driving end on it. Let's see if I can get it working again, because I've got several pictures of it. Let's have a look. I'm going to go carefully. RTC, and then so the structure gauging train was a 3 vehicle set, and there we go. Oh, it's not a very big picture, but you can see. So it's hauled by a locomotive, and one end's got a driving cab, which is off something like a VEP or a rep, something like that. I think it's actually just converted rather than actually taken off an end, but it looks very much like a Vepro Rep, you know, with the end in. It's got some grills and things like that, but it's basically a BSK. And you know, and then in the middle you've got a VAA type of van, and it's got basically a laser thing, and then you've got a support coach, which is a generator, I think, seem to remember. So if we look at the individual coaches, so let's have a look. This is 975081. Just wait for it to open. Come on. Oh, don't not do it. I think it's hanging again. I've had a bit of a computer problem lately, so I've reinstalled everything today, which is a bit of a pain. But okay, that's not going to do it. I'll leave it doing that in the background. No, my luck, it's stopped my stream as well. Okay, so we're back. So here's 975081. You can see the number in the corner there. Got a big vent, and you know, the windows are completely different here. It's also on Southern Region B4s, so if you look, it's like a B4 bogie, but it's got this sort of bracket here, and so the recessed end is there, but they plated up the window, and it's got a radio pod on the roof. But you can see underneath, all the boxes and things are quite different. So this has got B1 bogies, so old bogies. This is basically a train set type of thing. You know, this needs a lot of work to bring it up to a standard, and it's just a BSK that's a BSO that's been painted. But I don't even. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's not even a BSO. So yeah, I mean, you can see how it's got the door there. You know, so this is a bit sloppy. A part of me would rather them not do it than do it wrong. A generator van. This is perfectly fine, although these vents are just paint. This is a realistic vehicle, a Super Gov with roller shutter doors. So a BSO Landau breakdown unit. This doesn't sound right to me. Let's have a look. I've actually got my departmental coaching stock book right in front of me. 975082. Okay, it's not even in this book. Crikey. And this book was from like 1989 or something. What year? 1987. So it doesn't even exist in this book. So yeah, I don't remember that vehicle at all. So we got Lab 10 975428. So 975 428, which is Lab 10 as well. So I don't know since. Oh, it's back. I think it's because it's having to load stuff up. Which one was it again? 975428. Okay, here it is. Oh, I was looking to model this one. There was a choice between that or a different vehicle, so this is it in later years. And you can see how it's got a couple of big fans, half plated up door, and these were all plated as well. But in this era, it looked like this. I think I've got a couple of pictures of it. I think that's it in that period, yeah. It's the other end. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, I must admit, when they announced a BSO, it's like, oh, that could be useful for a couple of things. Very pleased when Hornby brought this out. That was that. If you remember the coach, I was showing a pair of coaches, and one was the buffet car, and the other one was it looks like just a white one. That was a BCK that I've modified as central section with some standard doors. So ballast cleaners train staff coach. I'm not entirely sure whether they were like that, but it's quite possible. So we got Pendolino coaches to go with the rest of the Pendolino. That's nice to see. Means people will be able to make themselves a full set quite quickly. I don't know what the livery's like on every coach, so I hope they're able to match it. I would hate to have like them be different in different parts of the train. So you end up with a train, sort of two vehicles like that, where it's got an end that's like this or something. But so this is one that people have been crying out for several years. Now this is a good model. I've got 3 painted like that. I've got 1-in-1 livery. Although I've stripped it down and I'm repainting it like this. I do hope they do a better job of the paint job than this, though, because this is awful. The stripes. What's gone on with the white stripe? The white stripe's tiny, and it's got grey on there, and it doesn't even wrap through the handles. So I hope this is a really sort of rough paint job they've gone for, but this is not at all good. I'm really not impressed with that. Now, as a coach goes, it's very good in 99% of cases, but in this livery it's not quite correct, because if I take you to the Mark IIIs, when Hornby brought it out, they did it in they had Virgin and One livery and Intercity. However, when Virgin overhauled them, they put these V-style horn covers on, and that's what's on the model. It's also got oval buffers. It has no the rubbing plate, and also it hasn't had a knuckle coupler. So if you compare this, and then we'll go and look at the Intercity ones. So let's find a reasonable. It's going to freeze on me. Beware. Yes, Scott, you're right. Shame the Mark III buffet's got no roof detailing. I don't know why they don't have that, because the first ones that they did had. Still screwy. It'll come back. It just takes time. Terribly sorry. Let me pour myself another glass of juice. Just waiting for it to come back. My computer. I need to do a database check you can set up a database of all the pictures. I have lots of pictures, so it has to reload, has to try and find them all, and I'm guessing it's getting screwy. Here we go, we're back. Okay, so if you remember the Virgin one, so it had different horn cover, and the problem is you splat into a pigeon at 100 miles an hour, it's going to wreck the grill, and that was one of the problems they kept having with them. So yeah, but it's also got the clipped oleo buffers, it's got a rubbing plate, and it's got the knuckle coupler as well. This is obviously one that's been connected to a loco, because you can see how the electric train heating plug is not pushed into the receptacle. But they did run without the skirting, because that's another thing that's missing. So the Hornby model doesn't have the skirting, doesn't have the knuckle coupler, doesn't have the rubbing plate, doesn't have those kind of buffers, which is, and they all ran with them until they were overhauled by Virgin. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. I'm going to be doing 3 with the skirting, and 1 like this without the skirting, and without with the TDM jumper cable covers knocked off, because they had a little hinged. What if there's? There you go. They had a kind of hinged panel, but are the Virgin ones plated up? I can't remember. Oh, it's doing it again. I'm terribly sorry, everybody. Let's just turn it off. I gotta wait until it comes back, because I can't be sure whether the stream's working or not. I think tonight, when I go to bed, I will set up the database thing, and it will just spend hours doing it. So yeah, I'm just going to drop that now. But yes, it's nice to see in-seat one. I hope they get the livery better. The way the livery worked was that the white stripe should be about 2/3 the height of the red, or the orange rather, because it's rail red, which is Pantone. Sorry, not Pantone. Excuse me. British Standard 381C number 593 rail red, which is the same you'll get on Red Soul Bar. 20s, 58s, 31s, 47s, 37s, 56s, 26s. So yeah, and also on when you had the rail freight livery, the old rail freight, where it had like grey with the red band at the top, that's the same red again. So then we've got these. So these are basically the kind of train set kind of vans. I don't even know if they're based upon real vans, but these are a bit gimmicky, really. Same kind of thing here. Okay, so the CDA hoppers. These are very, very nice wagons, but they've also got a very, very nice price of £70. They were about £20 each when they came out, because they were revised. You got the old 1983, I think it came out version. So they had the HA hopper, and then later on they just stuck a piece of, stuck a cover on and some bits on. I have 15 of them, but not the modern one, and it's just a bit pricey. Then we got this one, which is a HA set, and I mean that's £70. So so let's say you were to take the cover off there, and that's a CDA. I don't know why they've done it like that. Is there a CDA that? I don't know. I mean, you could always pull the box off there and pull the lid off and have 3 hoppers. But these are good quality models, of course. But I mean, let's work out how much it'd cost to do a coal train, which is going to be a bit pricey. So let's so it's 70, so 69. Oh, hang on, what am I doing? 36 hoppers make a full coal train. Divide by 3, so you need 12 times £69.99. Ouch. Yeah, you see, that's the reason why I'll stick with my old 1983 ones. I don't know these. These are steam era kind of wagons, so I'm not sure if they're accurate in any way or not, for that matter. Now these are okay, but they're not actually accurate by any stretch. So the MSV that Hornby have, it has. So when they brought it out in, I think it was the early 80s. They put a new body on a steam wagon, and if we look, let's see if this will work. So departmental, opens, vacuum brake, barbell. So this is the kind of wagon that it is. This is one of these here. Okay, this is a vacuum braked wagon. That's why it's brown. Oh, okay, there's one of the old ones. So yeah, it kind of fits like that. I'm looking at the details. Well, the only thing I can see at the moment that's different, just a cursory view, is that these have got square axle box covers, so oil box covers, and this has got circular ones. But the majority of them were like this and had vacuum brakes. I personally think the best way to get this kind of wagon, because Bachmann do one as well, but the best way to get one is to go with the Parkside kit with a 1/185 1/185 diagram. There we go. So that's a 184. Yeah, that's what they turned out like in the end. So MSV. So V would be vacuum brake, so it would have a vacuum brake. If it's an air braked one, it would be an A. But this hasn't got any brakes, look, you can see. So the chassis doesn't really fit with the body. It should be an MSO, as in non-braked, which means it would be grey, because unbraked vehicles were grey. The bauxite ones, those were vacuum braked. So we got some containers. They'll go on your on. Well, no, that's one. There's a KFA lower down. Steamer brake van. I don't know if any of those ran in the British Rail era. Possibly did. So we got the LMS one. That's a very nice wagon, I must say. I've heard good things about it. ZTO, which puts it in the British Rail period one, so you know that you could find those up to the 80s probably, maybe even the 90s. That's way early, so I don't think any of those made it to British Rail era, but I might be wrong. I may be wrong. So we've got a green liveried one. I don't even know if that's a thing. They had olive ones like that. I don't think it was green though. Let's see what I've got in my brakes section. So BR, Now, if we look at the picture, it's got Rothick Distribution logos on it. And sort of looks like one of these, but it's not green. What's the number on it? 954812. Now, it just so happens that so it just so happens that I have this book, which is quite useful, and that has sorry, got a reasonable list. Let's see if it's in the list. Just wonder if there's anything there. So 954812. 809 and 817. Okay, I've got an air piped one. 812. Okay, here it is. Yeah, so it's there, and that was in 1966-67. Conversion to air pipe in July of 1967. It was converted. I don't know how they ran. There we go. So I don't know how they ran, but that green looks weird to me. I don't know. You know, I may be completely wrong, but I just don't recognise one in green. Now there is a weird thing where they did sort of look a bit on the green side. 9546. So 812. 954812. I mean, I just wonder whether it's, you know, it's olive and they've assumed it to be green. I have no idea. Not sure about that one. Yeah, that is a weird one. Like I say, it just looks strange. Maybe it's preserved. Actually, why don't I'm thinking about it, why don't I just check? 954812. 954812. Because I wouldn't be at all surprised if Hornby do exactly. Okay, not there. Oh, hang on, that's 952. 954. Okay, so yeah, 954812. So I think they've assumed that to be green or olive or something. Maybe I can get in contact with them. The other thing to be of note there is this has got roller axle boxes, whereas this model has got square ones. So maybe they'll make a modification. I don't know. I seem to remember they did have one with roller boxes. This is always nice to see, although it does look a little bit like there's brown here and orange, you know, sort of a different colour. This one looks a bit orangey at the bottom. Yeah, and something to bear in mind as well here. These are pre-production ones. What we get out of the box when they arrive may be quite different. It's going to be available in September, so there's time to make some changes. We got a toad. Now, something Jenny Kirk mentioned earlier today, and and it was an angled one, so it was it had one of these coaches, sorry, one of these wagons. There you go. One has got the angled bracing on it, and this one doesn't. Now, these are both marked as Western ones rather than British Rail era ones. So I was just wondering whether, because something to realise is that some were built by British Rail, some were exactly built. Or believe it or not, this is one, but it's been converted into a mess van. But oh, it's gone and hung again. Damn it. Sorry about this once more. Okay. So here's an example of a BR built one. You can see 950 series. So that's a British Rail built one, because they had orders to do them effectively. They needed vehicles building, and they hadn't decided which one to go for yet. In the end, they went for the LNER one for the standard BR brake van. But until then, they made a bunch of Southern and Midland and Great Western ones as well. So so like I say, you get a range. So I don't know why some have got diagonal bracing and other ones don't. I wondered, I speculated that perhaps the BR ones have the plain decking and the Western ones don't, but of course, these are Western ones, so I'm, incorrect on that. So I wonder, where the range difference is. So anyway, so that's that. A horse box, again, too early for D&E modelers, really. Similar kind of things here, and I kind of balk at the price. This is a little tiny wagon that's about 3 inches long, and it's £33. I just, the costs have gone up so much. That's my own main criticism for these. But lots of different, colour schemes, and you can see it's all era 2, 3, 3, 4, that kind of thing. So you got a siphon. Well, these lasted for a while. They made it into departmental service. I remember one being at Lara. So we got GD1 McCaw, or a Bogie Bolster A. There you go, and there's the BR Bogie Bolster A. I happen to have my British Rail wagon fleet book here. So were there any around in the D&E period? So let's have a look. 107. No, it starts at 126. Then maybe they're in a different book. Okay, so this is a more modern one. This is an ex-Lima model. It's not very good, really. It's got the bogies off a TEA tank wagon, but these are under scale and more HO scale in size. The main thing that they made was this chassis, but then they got the V-tank body and just stuck it on the top. So it's a bit of a sort of, a screwy model, really. And not only that, the end parts here had a lot more work about them. If I probably set myself up for, not coal, construction, cement, and the bogie one. So you can see, here's the wagon. You can see that these are substantially larger. There's less gap between them. And this is largely a TTA tank wagon chassis there. TEA, sorry, not a TTA, TEA. But you can see how the cowling here goes around the edge of it, whereas on the Lima and this Hornby model, it's got basically a big space that you can put your hand in. I know I own one; it's in a drawer somewhere. But you know, they ran. I seem to remember last running as cement wagons on the southern region. But some were modified for calcium carbonate, I think it was. Calcium carbonate, yeah. So I want to do one like the one I've got like this, and again I want to do the cowling around it. So I do have a set of Gloucester. No, they're not Gloucester first rate. I don't matter. So okay, so it's nice to see the sea cow back. Just something to bear in mind: there are two versions of the sea cow stroke sea lion. This is one of the 980 series ones, which is the riveted, which is the welded ones. So if we look at departmental hoppers, sea cow. So we got this is the riveted version. So this is the one that Bachmann do. Hornby have also produced it, an ex-Lima one, but you can see how the vertical braces here have are riveted. There's just rivets everywhere. So this is a lot of riveting. And then there's the welded version, which is the one that Hornby produced, and it looks like this. Now, oh, it's gone frozen again. Damn. Sorry, just gotta wait for it to catch up. Come on. Just gotta wait for it to do its thing. It'll figure out who it is and what it's supposed to be doing any time now. Come on. Let's get on with it. There we go. So, yeah, this is the Hornby one, and it's a very good model. The only thing that's lacking on it is this little ride height thing. But other than that, it's a fantastic model. I have 9 of them, and I've got 19 of sea cow sea lions for a train. I need one more. And then I'll have the 20, which is the kind of thing you would have found behind 33s on the Meldon Quarry work. So, yeah, they got around all over the place. Some of them, this grey looks a bit pale, but it could just be the way the light is on it when they took the photo. Sometimes they've got a black sole bar, sometimes they've got grey. Sometimes the yellow is only 12 inches thick, which puts it about halfway up the angle there. You can see there's one there. So these have got the shorter height. There we go. So that's an example, and you can see how the grey seems to go down here. Might be wrong, but yeah, they were long-lasting wagons. They did well. There we go. You can see it's grey down the bottom there. It could also be dirt, but that looks like it's grey. Then look, it looks. There you go. There we go. Got it painted. 980023. I wonder which one it is. 121. Oh, one thing that you can do to these is just sort of, instead of being like brown, a browny rust colour, have some streaks in there with bits of white in there. Makes a difference. There's your MSV again. Again, MSV, but it hasn't got any vacuum brakes on it. That's a manual brake only. So that chassis does not belong under an MSV. An MSO, which is unbraked, an MSO, which so it's completely unfitted. Only has a handbrake. Another coal hopper. So these are £25 each. Crikey, let's have a look. 25 times 36. £900 to make a full HA coal train. Oh, I hope none of you have much space, that you'll never need to buy a full one. Another CDA, but this time it's got the EWS and DB Schenker stuff on it. A graffiti one. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Although I don't think you could really have a full train of them, because that would look weird. They're very, very, very old Hornby tanker with underscale bogies. The body's not bad. The body's not bad at all, but the bogies are just not very good. So some if you go to Stetson models, sorry, Stenton, I've forgotten the call now. But yeah, Philimes, they do bogies that will fit under that quite nicely. So the old Vix brake van, so a ferry van, BR ferry van, kind of thing that you would have seen going through the on the ferry, Dover ferry. First brought out by Hornby when it had the the grey with the red stripe at the top. These have been exactly like this so many times. They've been painted and patched up, and there are plenty of them. This is a departmental and vans, and then air braked, and not that version, BR ferry, and that's an olive one, which should be a lot like this one here. So yeah, and there was also a couple that were converted like this as well as staff vans. There you go, like this. There you go. There's a staff van version, which would be a cool conversion. And the nice thing is that you've already got the wagon, and you just got to put the get some windows. So yeah, someone just painted some blue over the brown. You can just about see the old BR lettering inside underneath. So yeah, a good model. By today's standards, the tilting bogey sort of system here, because the thing you have to remember with a wagon, a model like this, back in the 80s, when Hornby was king of model railways, really, and it although Lima was bringing out what I think were, certainly better models, certainly on the loco side, and better running as well. They had much smoother gears and everything. Back then, Hornby was a toy train company. The name was what sold Hornby. When you looked at Lima, and even when Bachmann came along, people would say, "Oh, I got to get one of those because that's Hornby," even though the Bachmann model was better and sometimes cheaper. But when Hornby made this model, this needed to go around first radius toy train curves that you get on a train set, because that's what Hornby sold back then. Hornby have graduated now. They've grown up. They do so they do a combination. They do some train set stuff, and they do some really good quality stuff, which is second radius or better, or wider. So, like I say, as a result, because it needed to go around these tight corners, you couldn't have a long wheelbase vehicle like this with, you know, with a coupling that stayed in the same place. This needed to be a bit different. This looks like it's got a metal coupling hook, a coupling bar. You can modify this wagon quite nicely. Maybe make the stripping, the trussing a little bit more scale with some, L section from evergreen styrene. You could put some better Y hangers on there. V hanger, W irons, and then put some new suspension parts from kit parts. But it's okay. It's an okay model for its time. It's a good model, and it's a good thing to start off with if you want to do some conversion work. So then we got this, which is I seem to remember it's a correct vehicle, LMS CCT. I don't remember it ever going out anywhere. I seem to remember it always stayed in at Derby. So it was like a, I don't know. I might be wrong. The VDA. So again, this is the old 80s model. The Bachmann model is definitely superior. This, for example, although the body is a VDA, the chassis is a VAA, or the OBA. OAA wagon. So, effectively what happened was Hornby did the SSA with the lift-up stanchions. They did the OAA open wagon, and they did this one, which was the VDA doored vehicle. Oh, sorry, and there was another one which was a curtain-sided one. I think that came later though. Again, it was in the toy train era, so you can't, and also this big vent on the roof is not a thing. So, okay, so we've got the KFA, fantastic wagon. I have a couple of them to expand out my Freightliner train. I was rather disappointed for many, many years because I wanted a Freightliner train, but all the Freightliner wagons that came out were either were all modern image. They were all the latest stuff from post 2000s, or the very late 90s to say the least. And so it's like, there aren't any wagons that I need. Well, a few years ago, Hornby brought out these. So I always expected an FFA FGA to come out, or an FSA FTA to come out eventually. And then over the last couple of years, both have come out. So I bought a couple of these several years back. Now I've got 10 FFA FGA flats from Bachmann, and Rail Track Models announced a few weeks back FSA FTAs. So that fits all perfectly from my sort of late 80s into early 90s, because 1992-ish was when the FSA FTAs started coming into service. So yeah, I can make full trains now, or soon I'll be able to make full trains. I can make a full train now. It's only 12, but I want to flesh it out with a few more. And of course, here we go. There's another one with different with different containers. And of course, if you remember earlier up there were some other containers, so you can swap out your containers if you don't like the ones that come like these. So, okay, Hornby Christmas Wagon 2020, a gimmicky thing, it's a toy train type of thing, some better wheels. Ironically, that MSV hopper, that MSV open would do slightly better on this chassis because at least this one's vacuum braked. And then another sort of, gimmicky thing. So we've got four pin decoder. I don't know what they're exactly for. Seems strange. No longer a spares code. Okay, so they've had to use the same code. Maybe they'll go to 5 digits soon. I don't know what these are at all. They don't really tell very much at all. So, app-based analog control. Analog control using Bluetooth low energy, controls up to 8 separate circuits, operates locomotives, points and accessories, features locomotive sounds, horns, whistles. Okay, I think this is basically cheap version of DCC. So it's not. It's basically DC DCC. It's hard to explain, but there are. I know the Americans have done this, where when there was that bridging space when not many people were doing DCC. So if you've got loads of locos and you want to go DCC, it's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, I've got over 100 locos. Could you imagine what it'd be like if I hadn't gone to DCC like 15 years ago? So it would cost a fortune. So what happened was that you had this kind of system where it would, as well as sending the current, it would send some digital data through, and so you could get, some items which you can stick in your model. So again, I'm fuzzy on what this is, but it sounds like poor man's DCC. Again, I don't exactly know what it is, but we'll have to see what it is. It's a bit hard to say. Like I say, analog control. That's not DCC. So, okay, so that's it. We got to the end. Now, I believe I saw some steampunk stuff. I don't know what. I didn't see any of this stuff, but it does have a bit. I saw some of it earlier, and it looks like something out of the was it Great Model Railway Challenge thing. So, like I say, it's I think it's good stuff. It's got a good combination of some railroady type stuff. Let me just swap over. So, yeah. So we've got a nice combination here. I think it's much better than last year's, because last year modern image modelers hardly got anything. It was a coach, and what else? And it was the little wagon, but there wasn't really much. I was really quite harsh last year. So I mean, I look at this from a modeler's perspective, from I suppose a seasoned modeler's perspective, and so as a result, I've got to look at it, as how will this work for me? So there's a number of things that are useful. There are things there that could be repainted. One thing that I am disappointed with is that there wasn't a BR Blue 314. Now, they've got the tooling for it. They've done the Fragon set one. That's a 37.4. So it's not like they don't have the tooling for it, but for some reason, they just haven't got around to doing a 31.4 in BR Blue yet. And the thing is, as you might think, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it kind of is, because in the late 80s into the early 90s, the amount of BR Blue 31.4s and 5s, which basically were the same thing, but they cut the cables to isolate it to take out the train heating equipment. But excuse me a second, let me just take another drink. Excuse me. So yeah, BR Blue liveried 31.4s, and 5s, just a renumber job. They could be seen on intercity trains, double-headed, going down to the southwest on the summer Saturdays. They could be found on regional railways trains into the early 90s. Obviously provincial trains, so you would get them going, on the not Transpennine, on the Hope Valley route down to Norwich. So Birmingham to Norwich, and Liverpool via Manchester to Norwich. So they would do all those sorts of routes. In fact, let me open up trains, locos, D's. Oh, that's doing that. Oh. So, type 2. It's kind of hung straight away. It will open in a moment. The problem is, when this freezes, I don't know whether it's freezing for you, as whether my output is frozen as well. So I just have to wait until it figures out what it is. And like I say, this is because I haven't done a database listing. So it has to create a database in order to be able to sort of know where everything is. There we go. Okay, so 31.4 MBR blue. So we got on parcels trains. That was the early one they had. You can see it's got the vertical grills there, but that's on a research train. There's your Hope Valley route, provincial stroke regional railways trains, although it finished under provincial. There's one on an engineers train, another engineers train, more engineers trains. That's a preserved one. They're on an intercity diversion, so the electric loco will be removed. Probably weekend work. Another engineers train. That'll be for parcels. There's a little intercity cross-country type of working. Depot shots. There's one going into Paddington with a Network South East train. Another research train full of Grampus. That's a lot of Grampus. So, like I say, it's one of those. There you go. That's what I was talking about. The going down the down to Paynton, I think they were. So, yeah, you've got a lot of Skegness train there. Actually, sorry, tell a lie. That's not. That's a Ridge Railways train, because that's Wigan Walgate as the West Coast Main Line going over the top. And you can see this one's got the cowling on the roof. But it'd be nice to see, one of these. Parcels again. So, like I say, they were, they did all sorts of things. Everything. Something to notice here. If you notice, you've got a reinforced windscreen. There was a problem with vandals, and it's like, drivers didn't like the idea of having someone lob there was a somewhat famous picture where someone threw it's like a reinforced piece of concrete, and it has some metal poles inside, and it went and smashed in the window, and it was like just inches away from the driver's nose. Can you imagine being that driver? So, Hornby, next year, how about one of these? It's something people have been asking for a while. That's an unrefurbished 4, but so like I say, they were universal throughout the late 80s and into 90s. That's one of my photos. That's on the Bolton parcel service. That's one of Manchester Victoria, Derby, Leicester rather, Bristol, Manchester. So that'd be a pacer replacement service. So, like I say, they were all over the place. So I think this is something that really could do with a new could do with a new tooling. Could do with it's just a paint job. It really is just a paint job. For me, the highlight of this is, I think the APT is a highlight for the model railway community as a whole. For me, the highlight is going to be the buffer-fitted HST power cars. It's ever so slightly annoying though, because I happen to have a couple of the A1 etches that came out some time ago, and these are very, very nice. So I've already got them ready to go. I just never got around to installing them. Well, now I don't need to, so that, and it'll look better than probably look better than what I produce. I don't know though. You can never be sure. So yeah, I think Hornby have done a good job. I think this is a good listing. As we frequently see, Steam get the bulk of the new tooling, but it is their 20th. It is their 100th anniversary. So history was Steam is a large part of that history. So it's not unsurprising, really, that that's going to be a major thing. As I mentioned a few days ago, I think DMUs and EMUs are things that really should be on the list for diesel electric modelers. And something else to bear in mind as well. For me, my modelling time is yet to come, effectively. The time when the majority of stuff is made for my generation. Because there are 3 groups of modelers. You've got the contemporary people who are doing today. What was, Virgin last year is Avanti today. So always changing, always evolving. You've got the 40-year-olds market, which is now my generation, and those are people usually who they've got enough money, they've got enough income from their work that they can afford to pay for the house and pay for the pay for the car, and spend money on their model railway stuff as well. Indulge in their hobbies. And then there's the pensioner market, and that's the primary one. That and the contemporary one, because the contemporary one is always, effectively you can pump out the old model in the new colours, and that's good money coming in for Hornby and Bachmann and Daypole and so on. And then, but for the pensioner market, these are people that worked all their lives. What are they going to do with their days now? They're going to just sit at home and watch TV and just get fat and and get under their wives' feet, that kind of thing. I know. I'm going to build that model railway layout that I always wanted to make, but kids and the family and go in places and paying for the house and those sorts of things. Well, now they've got now they've got some disposable income that they can spend on their hobbies. And great for the wives because he's off in his shed or in the attic or in the railway room or something because the kids have left home now, and so that's a spare space. That's where. And if you look at model railway shows, the majority of the people you see there are old guys with beards and bad breath. That I'm being jokingly derogatory there, but that's the majority of people. So I'm still another sort of 15 to 20 years away from when the majority of stuff will be exactly what I need, the things that haven't already been done. However, the problem is that model railways is a dying hobby. It really is. Because, I mean, hopefully things like the Great Model Railway Challenge might get some younger people into the hobby. But the problem with model railways today is that there aren't the new generation taking up the hobby, because they'll be playing with the PlayStations and iPhones and things like that. They'll be playing with Lego, with with what's it, 3D goggles or whatever, so virtual reality. So it's going to be difficult for the likes of Hornby and Bachmann, so I think at the moment they're trying to make the money where the main market is, which is the pensioner market, because that's the majority of the people walking in the door. I mean, I remember a time not that long ago, maybe 10 years, over the last 10 years, it started to disappear. You go to a model railway show, and there was the regular price, there was the kids' price, and there was the pensioners' price. But what happened was there were more pensioners going to shows than there were the regular price people, and they couldn't afford to run a show at that, so they've dropped. They ditched the pensioner price. So, and it made sense to do it. I mean, yes, it's harder, but it makes sense. So that's where we're at now. The model railways is a dying hobby, and it's something. If you've got kids, try and get them into the hobby, because if you don't, I mean, if you've seen the news, Hornby has struggled. They have been. I think they had some debts a few years ago. I don't know what their financial state is now, but they were in trouble. And of course they bought all these different. They bought Humbrol and Airfix and all these other companies. Have they been able to make use of those? So Hornby have financially been in trouble the last few years. How long before Hornby still exists? That's something we have to ask ourselves. And so, when we look at the prices of things and we go, ooh, that's a bit pricey, we have to accept that the prices are what they are. It's annoying and it's irritating, and it's the reason why I only get about 3 or 4 new locos a year, if that. I mean, in 2019, I'm trying to remember. Did I bought one new loco? That was the 90, the Bachmann 90. I'm trying to remember if I bought any new locos last year. I don't think I did, other than that 90. Everything else was either second hand or coaches, or to be honest, I didn't buy very much last year. I mean, I'm fortunate that when I was buying things, you could buy, an 08 shunter for £35 from Bachmann. That you could buy a 170 if you liked 170s for £70. Now it's more like £170. I have 2 Bachmann forceps that I'm using the chassis for, and I didn't need the bodies, and I sold them on. So I've got 2 sets of chassis. I paid £100 for a 4-car set. That 4-car set today is like £350. The prices are going up and up and up, and it's really not, we have to accept that we had it good for a very long time, because one of the things that happened through the 80s and into the it was up until basically the late 90s, about 97, 99ish kind of period. First one started coming out about 96, but we'd fallen way back. The rest of the world, the US and the European continent, They had central motors with flywheels and drive shafts going to bogie towers, picking up on all wheels, driving on all wheels. They had that, 30 years ago. We've only just, we've only had it for about 15 to 20 years now. So, it's we were way behind. As a result, you could go to a shop and buy a Lima 47 for £20-25. 31s, 50, I remember balking at the price of 87101 for £45. That's how much I paid for it. I was like, oh, that's a lot of money to pay. Now, and not only that, it's not even correct because you got to do a load of work on the roof. So like I say, buying coaches for a tenner a piece, maybe £12. I remember when the Bachmann Mark 1s came out, and I was thinking, ooh, £15, £16, that's a bit pricey. Oh, well, what I would do for a time machine today and go back and buy, a whole bunch of blue-grey Mark 1s and Mark 2s. This is not a thing that we can expect anymore. So it's a drag and it's annoying, but it's the reality. And I know that the price is just like, it's because we were so used to it being low. And effectively what happened was it was low and then it sort of went up and then it went up and then it went like crazy. And one of the main reasons behind it, and I don't want it to be a political thing, but it's basically Brexit. Brexit has been one of the reasons why the cost has just spiked. Because what happened was, when the Brexit announcement was made, it's like, okay, we're going to leave. And whether you want to leave or don't want to leave, it doesn't make a difference. This isn't a political thing. But what happened was the unsurety in the international markets, stock markets took a tumble, and the pound took a tumble. And when you remember that most of the stuff we get is imported, so you've got a double whammy, because what was happening is at the same time, in the few years before Brexit happened, the referendum happened, we had there was a change in China, that they weren't going to be the sweatshop of the of the world anymore. They started to increase workers' rights, better pay, better working hours, things like that. So less working hours, better pay. Well, as a result, that's got to go on the price of the goods that they're making. And some things are fine. If you're just buying a piece of plastic thing that's been pumped out, millions of them, and you find them in a pound shop, great. But when it comes to model railway stuff, you're talking about moulds, you're talking about people who design the things, because what you get when you buy your new model, when I've got, for example, I've got one of these railroad Mark IIes. Now I'm going to be converting them. I'm going to be doing them up. I'm going to, that weird soul bar thing that it ended up with because the body didn't fit to the chassis properly. I'm going to modify that so it does look right. I'm just going to chop a couple of bits on the end, make a wedge, so that, effectively, instead of it being like that, it's going to be like that. So I've got to make some modifications. I'm going to put some lights in it. I put some better wheels on it already. I'm going to take this, model that I paid £17 for. No, sorry, I didn't. Actually paid £19 for this one. It wasn't the £27.50 it's on there, by the way. Oops. So, I bought a stack of these for a reasonable price at the time, and then I went and bought about another 25 of bulk. I was bulk buying for 4 months. I went and bought loads of Mark IIes that I'm going to convert into Mark IIFs. This is before Hornby announced they were going to do a Mark IIF, because there was the Bachmann one or was the Hornby Mark IIe, and the only difference between a Mark IIe and a Mark IIF is some of the bits between the bogies. So I'm just going to make 3D print designs for that and get a production bunch of them done. So you could even buy them yourself if you want. Get them done on Shapeways, and I'll just buy 10 vehicles worth or 15 vehicles worth or whatever it is, to put them in a big bunch. I'd like to get some more and convert them into Mark II Bs or Cs. I'm going to wait until see what Bachmann do this year. Are they going to do Mark II Bs and Cs? Please, that would be great. If they could do Bs and Cs, we would have all the modern image coaches available. But, to go back to what I was saying, I had to be strategic, because I knew that when the Bachmann model came out, they were going to be in the sort of £50-55 mark compared to the £17 I could get them from Hatton's. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to buy a load of ones from Hatton's, do some good modelling, and make them to the same kind of standard. That's because I'm fortunate. It's because I've got 25 plus years worth of modelling experience, and I'm able to do these things. And the reason why I do this channel is because I want to pass on these skills so that you can do the same. So you can say, oh, I could buy these things from Shapeways and, cut a few bits off, glue a few bits on, make some little modifications here and there, and I've got myself, a really good model, that I can be proud of. And that's one of the things that lures me into the model railway stuff. But this is not a cheap hobby. This is something that, I think people really need to understand. If you want a cheap hobby, take up bird watching. You get a pair of binoculars and and a train ticket, and you can go and see something. Even then, it's going to cost you money over time. But the days where you could build big layouts and have loads of stuff running around, that's kind of in the past now. If you're starting out today, you gotta settle for small layouts. I think today, which is kind of difficult because, of course, my back bedroom, which is where I'm going to build my layout when I start it, that's 15 foot by 9 foot. That's a bit too small to fit full length into City 125s with 8 coaches between. To have a Raker Mark 4s, 9 Mark 4s with a DVT and 91 on the end. So, it's all right. Okay, I'll have to have a look into that URL. So, although I'm actually looking at the idea of getting myself a 3D printer and just producing my own. Other ones will be available on Shapeways or whatever Ender is. But anyway, so where was I thinking? Yeah, so it's not a cheap hobby, and the idea of having long full length trains and things like that, it's a difficult thing to do unless you've got money. So yeah, it's kind of it's sad in a way. It's sad, but in other ways it's fantastic, because there's so much more new stuff coming out that is really good. The only problem is, someone like me, I'm disabled, so I don't have a lot of money coming in at the best of times. And not only that, I'm having to go through the PIP thing right now, so I'm about £180 a month less than I had before. And bear in mind that when I was getting DLA, my income for an entire year, and that's to pay the rent and the food and gas and electric and water and all these other things, and makeup nowadays, my income for an entire year was £7,609.20. That's not a lot of money. So I was spreading it out around as well as it could. I was buttering the bread nice, really thin to get it to spread further. So yeah, it's a difficult thing today. I would really love. I've got a couple of Class 117s from Lima, converted the ends of them here and there, to make them look, to instead of having 2 brakes on it, which is weird, so have a DTS and DMS and a DMBS, and then the TS in the middle, or TSL in the middle, sorry. I'd love to replace those with the new upcoming Bachmann 117s. Have I got the money for it? No. I mean, I could do with, 4 Network South East ones, 2 Regional Railways ones, and at least 1 blue-grey one. And what's the price going to be? I think they're going to be somewhere in about £350 each for a 3-car unit. Ow! And the price of a wagon today is £40 to £50 for a new tooled wagon. I mean, on my modelling list, I've got 10 polybolt wagons. Bachmann brought out the polybolt wagon. It's like, oh, fantastic! That's going to be great, And when they came out, they were £45, and I didn't have enough money to buy £450 worth of wagons. And by the time I had some money, because there was other stuff I wanted to buy that was more important, by the time I did have the money that I could spend, they'd all sold out, and now they're £50 a piece, and that's if you can find them at £50. So that's the problem. It's a tough deal. I'm fortunate in many ways that I've managed to snap up some really good bargains. I picked up, Mark 1 coaches in maroon from someone who's selling stuff on on eBay, or someone who's sticking stuff on the Demu forum or on other places. It's like, oh, I think I'll have some of those. Yeah, I'm not going to, I'm going to have to sort of make some decisions about how much I want to eat or whether I go out anywhere. But, at least once I've got them, I've got them. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I can then go back to them and, give them a paint of blue and grey, or Intercity, or Network South East, or whatever, to make them look right. To put them in the period that are right, that works well. So, yeah, that's... these are the choices that I've had to make, and the choices you've got to make as well. Maybe instead of building a big layout, why not have a little layout? Have something that's, just a countryside station, and just have, 6 sidings and a fiddle yard at the back, and just have some really nice scenery, and, or just add to your, your stock gradually. Because, like I say, it's an expensive hobby. The layout that I want to build is probably stupidly big, but I've got to run. I've got all the stock. All I need to do now is build some baseboards and lay the track. And once I start that, I suppose I can just do a pair of sidings a month with the 2 points with the track to join them up between. I'll just gradually build up the fiddle yards and have the main line running, and while I'm waiting, for more money to come along to be able to afford those things, I'll just work on the scenery. Because that bit's cheap and time. And not only that, of course, I've got so many models that I want to do up to put on the layout. So I think when I do it, I think that I will, nothing goes on the layout until it's done. That having, a rake of coaches that's only half done and I haven't finished the project yet. Maybe I've painted them, but I haven't done the interiors and I haven't done the lighting, because I'd like to put lighting in things. That's just electronics, bit of printed circuit board stuff, and some some LEDs, some cheap deal. So, like I say, when I look at the APT on my modelling list, it's got an APT. It's 8 coaches. I want to do what I did before, basically. When I look at, it's going to cost, what was it, £550 for. Let me just have another quick look. It's going to be £549.99 for a 7 coach for a 7 car set, and then stick one other coach in it together. So let's have a look at the coaches. Looks like they come in 2s. So 7, 8, 9. So let's have a look. £620. That's not so bad for a train today, I suppose, but it's a lot of money still. And if you put in DCC in it, chuck another 20 quid a coach. You know, or, well, you probably have connecting systems, so you probably need maybe 2 or 3 decoders. We'll see what happens there. But, like I say, that's... Oh, God, Scott Malcolm, yes, I feel envious of you with 25 feet by 16, because that's basically double the size I got, 15 foot by 9 foot. That's, you know, pretty much double my space. You know. Well, one of the things to think about, Scott, is it's not necessarily the stuff, you know, if you have a fiddle yard at the back, and then have your scenic part all at the front. So if you imagine there's your, imagine this is your layout. Okay, this outline of the screen. Sorry, I'm trying to oh, it's handed. It's annoying. I'm gonna have to swap over. I'm sorry about this, but there we go. So now I can look at the screen. I can see where I am. So imagine this is your layout. So imagine the back section, you've got 10, 12, 15 sidings of fiddle yard. That all goes around to 2 tracks that goes around to your front section. You can have, think about chunk of the East Coast Main Line. You know, let's say a bit just north of Doncaster or on the Wakefield line or something like that. Because that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do the East Coast Main Line. I'm also going to do the West Coast Main Line as well, but, you know, that's because I have an interest in both. And so I'm just going to have, you know, Mark III catenary, and then you just, you know, you take the stock off, you put different stock on, so you've got the East Coast or West Coast Main Line. You can kind of make it work. Now... so you can have a nice bit of track. You can have a HA Coltrane 307 or 321, Bretchel 321 on the stopping service. You could even maybe on your section have a little station, you know, long enough, like out is it Outward, I think it's called, you know, something like that. That's my plan. My plan is to have it's going to be a little more complicated. So the idea is at the back it'll be a fiddle yard. Now, my flat is kind of unusual because I live in a block of flats, and there are columns that go up the building. And so if you can imagine, this is my railway room, and I've got the door over here. Up about sort of here, I've got a lump that sticks out, and then in the corner I've got a lump that sticks out as well. In fact, I can show you a picture, I think. Let me just make sure. Let's hope it doesn't get screwy again. It probably will. You know, watching myself without the audio on, that does look quite funny. Yeah, it's gone frozen. Come on. Organise yourself. Okay, it's back. So I think it's in there. If it'll open. I think it's in there actually. layout plans. Oh, come on. This is just silly. Sorry about this, people. Okay. So it's not that one. Is this one going to hang as well? No, it's not. Okay. So this is my is one of the walls on my in my back bedroom. I'm going to build a depot on a lower level, but so you can see here in the corner there's the lumps. That's one column, and there's another column there. This is sort of stuck together. I've just taken photos vertically down. For example, I don't have 4 tape measures. I've got one. It's just the same one in 4 different places holding the paper down. This is wallpaper, because this is how I plan a layout. What I do is I draw it out 1-to-1 scale with all the numbers of the different points and everything, and then build it to the plan, and then I can build the baseboards accordingly, because otherwise you end up wanting to put you want to put a strut there, and you find there's a point under it, so you can't put it there. You've got to put it somewhere else. So so the way that I intend to build the layout, and this is a general concept at the moment, so this length from here to here is the 15 foot, and then I've got 9 foot, which puts it sort of just below here. If we scale it out a bit, it would be about there, I would estimate. So the idea that I have is to have a fiddle yard that's this width, which is 10 or 11 tracks wide there, and then I'll have points that come here and then sort of spread out into terminating ones here. So the terminating ones can be used to put DMUs or EMUs, and the same there. And then these bits here, I'll just use like I've got some older points, some sort of SLE 92s, and I can just stick electric locos there. So the idea is that I will have so I have a fiddle yard. It'll go round, it'll go up an incline, it'll go over the top of the fiddle yard, and it'll wiggle its way through a station, which will be it'll either be 6 or 8 coaches long. It'll either be 6 Mark III length coaches or 8 Mark II length coaches, Mark 1, Mark II length coaches. That'll mean I'll be able to get 2 3-2-1s, for example, nose to nose together. So so yeah, that'll go around like that, and then it'll go around the hill, down and the incline, and then go into fiddle yard again. That's the general idea. I'm exploring the idea. Unfortunately, I've got a load of mess plus models plus other stuff in there. I've just, it's become the storage room at the moment. And so so what I want to do is, get everything out of there, or most of it out of there, and then get new lining paper on, because I'm considering trying to put a helix here and there, and I'll have to just crawl underneath to get in the room. So if I can get a helix, then the incline I figured this way going around here would be too high, and if it's too high, then it becomes a problem. And then the idea was that I'd have another section that goes down and then sort of, and then goes into a depot. However, I've changed the plan a bit now, so I would have, instead of it going in that way, it would go in that way, so everything would be reversed. So the main shed will be over here, that shed will be a little bit further out there, and possibly I might even go for another shed there, but it's dubious on that at the moment. And these areas will be like storage, I'd store locos in front of the depot, and just store locos up here as well, or over here. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but it'll be a similar plan like this. So if I can get a helix, instead of it going up a hill, it would just go into a tunnel there, go around, and then go into here. If the depot does look quite cool. Now, the depot is actually based upon Bristol Bath Road. I love Bristol Bath Road as a depot. It's a really smart looking one. So we got the main shed here. So that's where the main heavy maintenance gets done. That's where the basic maintenance gets done. And then there's the servicing shed. So this is where you stick fuel and sand and give it basic A exams. Things like that. And if you give me a second, let's see if it crashes again. Damn it. It's stuck. Yeah, it's stuck. It's going to take a few moments. Sorry. It's kind of dopey me doing Bristol Bath Road because it's nothing, there's nothing else, nothing like that in the north that would resemble it. But it doesn't really matter because one of my main the layout that I want to plan at the bottom section, I want to have a parcels terminal. Enough for 6 vehicles. Still waiting for it to load. Still going. Hopefully in a minute it'll come back together. See, the whole point when it comes to the depot is that electric locos won't go. Oh, great, it's crashed. So the point with the electric depot is that, with the diesel depot, is that there won't be any electrics on it. So that means I don't have to worry about any overhead wires down there, which is fantastic. But also, it means that because it's a diesel shed, it won't look weird to have, to be a sort of out of the region that I'm modelling in. And the reason why I'm doing Bristol Bath Road is because I love the service shed. It's basically all it come down to. I really love the service shed. It's a great design, and let's see if it. I'm just going to stick with this. Once this opens, you can just keep going. So that's the service shed there. It's a 3-door one. This is before 1983. They modified it in 83, so they got rid of the water tower and they extended it by an extra 3 arches. There you go, like this, you see. So this is the extension section. And I love I just love the way it changed shape. over time. So there were two buildings that built the same. This one and Landor, and then this was extended. But I love these kind of, arched windows. It's just such a great looking depot. Something that something disappeared was the carriage washer that disappeared. But I love the office block. That's quite cool. And you, like I say, you can see there's those arched doors, arched windows. So it's like, and the thing is, you can see in it. So often modern diesel, depots, you can't see in them. They're all corrugated sides and things like that. So having something, and like I say, I've got a real interest in parcels trains. So having that, a whole bunch of red liveried 47s set outside, I can already do that. I've got two Vitrains 47-7s, because that one and that one are in res livery, you can see, because it's got the red there, whereas this one's a parcels red one where it goes further. And you might think the only difference between them is that bit there. No, this grey is different as well. The whole roof and body side grey, it's got a touch of blue in it if you compare the two. This one's got like a blue tint to it. But so yeah, I've got 47761, which is the one that I did in model video, showed how to renumber. And then we got the two Vitrains one, and then I've got two parcels red ones as well. So right now I have 5 red 47s. But there's those arched buildings again, and you've got this sort of tools or washing or whatever goes on in there. And then there's your service shed. Sorry, try again. That's the maintenance shed. You got this large block here, and then there's your service shed with a crane at the back. So yeah, it's got a lot of style to it. And like I say, I'm going to have it so, although it'll be a little bit on the foggy side where you got the diesel smoke coming off and blackening the windows on the inside, I'm gonna, I want to be able to see inside, so you don't bump into things. So there you go. That shows what it is, and it's a fairly compact space. Sorry, let's try that again. It's a fairly compact space, so I think I can make that work. I mean, this is the other shed that I'm thinking I might be able to do. Originally, I didn't have any plans to do it, but being able to where that, if you remember what it was like there, because it's going to be coming around. Sorry, the fiddle yard section above will be going around, so I might be able to get, this in a sort of little triangle kind of thing, if that makes any sense to you. So yeah, that's my plan for that. I don't want to go into it too much, but yeah. So like I say, I've got big plans, and with the exception of things like Class 90s, and now we've got 91s and Mark IV coaches come from Cadillacs, which I wouldn't be able to afford. I've got 2 trains, 2 Hornby sets right now, 2 full trains. I'd like to have 4 Class 91s, and the reason for doing that is because I want to have 2 of the early ones. So my 2 favourite ones are 19 and 25, Scottish Enterprise and BBC Radio 1, which was named BBC Radio 1 while I was listening to the radio of it travelling up to Scotland for the first time, with the Queen on it. I seem to remember. What was that? No, that was a different one, because that was the one that was named after the Queen. which was 25. So, no, it wasn't. What am I talking about? I'm talking rubbish. Which was the one? Was it 20? Was it 20? 29. That was it. So yeah, what do I do with that? Do I do up the coaches and do up the locos? Well, probably not the locos. I think I'd buy 4 proper Class 91s and use the 2 rakes of coaches, and maybe I can afford to get 1 rake. I'd like to get 2 rakes from Cavalax, but with so many other things coming on and buying track and stuff. Fortunately, I've already got my DCC set. I got the Lens 100. I bought that about 15 years ago now. I'd like to get another LH 100 hand controller, maybe even 2, but that's a different story. So, tough decisions. Some of the things that I was going to do, I'm probably going to not end up doing because, it's just like, it's too expensive. Things like, as I mentioned earlier, a part of me would like to get a Pendolino, because I do think they're quite funky. They're good looking trains. If I could get one cheap, maybe sort of like, as I mentioned earlier, someone who's getting rid of their Virgin one because they want to have the because they want to have it in they want the new Avanti one. Now, the only one that I'm tempted by, in the, as they were until recently, I must admit I am somewhat tempted by that. It's the whole pride thing, But, actually, what I'm very tempted by is that. Someone basically did a little Photoshop work and did that, and part of me goes, oh, that's quite nice. I would design it a little bit differently. I wouldn't have this angle going like that. I would have it down there, maybe, from there to there, and then have this bit like that, and then maybe have a bit more yellow wrap around, there, or something. But, it's a tempting idea. Pendolinos are one of the few trains that I do like on the outside. On the inside, I hate them. Titchy tiny windows. I don't know why they made them with tiny windows like that. It just seems weird. And not only that, you end up with some seats where you're looking at the with a big panel between, and it's just, oh dear me. And then there's another one which I've been, I got a Javelin, and a little part of me is, I think I took a picture. Did a little bit of Photoshop work myself. Oh, it's kind of jammed. Sorry about this again. Let's hope it doesn't crash this time. I do think Hornby are making, could make use of having a 465 and some of the 375s, 377s. I think those would do well for them, because you can use them with your Javelins, and you can use them with a few other bits and bobs as well. Come on, let's see if this is going to wake up. There we go. It's back. Let's hope it doesn't crash again while it's trying to load them. So I did a little bit of toying around with what would Network Southeast work like on a Javelin. I thought that looked quite smart. So I have a Javelin and I'm good at painting, and a part of me just says, ooh, that'd be fun to do. Be a challenge on the with the paint, you know, with the masking, to get a sort of curve like these, but I think it'll look quite nifty. What do you think? You know, somewhere back here there was another one that, you know, someone else did, I think. Not very quite as keen on that. Yes, that goes with that, but it doesn't go with the way the Network Southeast was, so I preferred the sweep going that way. It's weird though, you know. But again, it's a game of, you know, if British Rail had continued, is this what we would have ended up with? So, yeah. Anyway, it is gone 2 o'clock in the morning, nearly 2:15, and I've still got some modelling work to be done to get that 73 done in time. Was working on the electrics last night, and I've only got a day and a half to go. Tomorrow, this time tomorrow, it'll be my birthday, and that's the day I'm doing my giveaway. So yeah, if you haven't already taken part, don't forget to look. It's a couple of videos ago, and it's my 500 sub giveaway competition. I'm not giving away 500 subs. It's a giveaway of me, thanks to me getting, you know, 500 subs. Currently, there are only about 17 or 18 people that have taken part, and there are 4 prizes. So you do the math. That's about a 1 in 4 chance of you winning, which aren't bad odds. So, you know, it's so it's going to be fun to see what people get. So you know, I better get on and go and do a little bit of modelling before I go to bed. My sleeping pattern is crazy at the moment. So, you know, I went for a few hours this afternoon, sorry, about 4 o'clock. And then I had to get some stuff sorted with the computer and everything before I could go on air. So I wanted to go on air about 8 o'clock. It actually worked out closer to 10. Because I was trying to get things organised. But anyway, no matter. So, thank you for joining me. And like I say, back to the essence of this video. I think Hornby brought out some really good things, or they're going to bring out some really good things. I think they're going to bring out some things that are dubious as well. But then, you know, you get the good and the bad. You know. For example, Hornby's just pumped out loads of Class 66s in every livery they've carried. That I think people know why. It's a cheap model compared to the Hattons or Bachmann model, but you know, it's a you know. There are some things that makes which works out well for me. So for those who don't realise, I do painting commission work here and there. One person I saw today was disappointed that there wasn't a 153 in Transport for Wales livery. And also I noticed today that there wasn't a 156 in Northern colours. And and that's going to be one of those get it while you can, because Northern may not be around much longer if you saw the news. The Transport Secretary suggested that he was going to be pulling the franchise off them. So yeah, that's a livery that might be changing soon. So there's another 156 livery, or 158, 170, 150 livery that's going to be around. So if you want anything painting, let me know. You can leave a comment underneath, or my email address is on the 500 sub video, so you can have a look at it there. See, my prices are pretty reasonable. I paint, for example, class 90s, Bachmann 90s. I painted a pair of them, not for two different people, but I painted two of them in Greater Anglia colours, and they were absolutely pleased with them. So, like I say, anybody wants things painting, let me know, because I'm a good painter. I really am. I'm not as good as Ready to Run Perfect, but I'm not far behind. And I think I do weathering better than they do anyway. But anyway, so I'm going to get going now. I've rambled enough, and I've only got a little bit of juice left, so I'm not going to do a Jenny Kirk and get so excited and just end up sort of a combination of barely being able to breathe and barely being able to speak, because she was salivating and frothing about the new stuff coming out, that she ran out of moisture in her mouth. I'm not going to go that far. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, plus it up. If you didn't like it, plus it down. It's the way things work. So but I hope you have a good couple of days, and I will see you on Wednesday. Should be around about 8 o'clock. Probably end up being 9. But the plan is to have it at 8. So if you can get your entries in, and just before I go on air, I will be checking that last check on the email, and I'll be going through the list, sticking them on, sticking them in, one of these internet generator things, and no one can win more than one prize. So you can set it up so that it gets rid of a name. So if anybody, in the previous draw, a name gets pulled out, the next, so on the second draw, 2 names have been pulled out, 3 names have been pulled out. So it's all going to be random. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Wednesday. I wonder what people, I wonder if what people will win. And not only that, of course, I wonder if Jason at Barnabas Junction is going to win, something, because I don't know what it is. There is a weird thing. It's like, he's the Bermuda Triangle of winning model railway stuff on giveaway competitions. So, yeah, and by the way, something else. There have been a couple of people who didn't quite get the answer. So I've emailed them back to say, not quite, try again. So if you've entered the competition and, check your emails to make sure I didn't send you a reply, because like I say, I had a couple of people who didn't quite get it right. They got one answer, one pair of answers, but they didn't get the other pair, something like that. So, just something to keep an eye on. Anyway, I'm going to go now. So have a great day, have a great evening, and I will see you in a couple of days. Bye-bye.